Welcome to another edition of Ruggers, and we're going to be discussing this past week's rugby matches. Currie Cup, round 6
and 7.
7.
6 and 7.
6 and 7. Starting with the Griquas versus the Lions, the first surprise of the week. I always like surprises. Keeps things interesting. Griquas beating the Lions 41-33. Carl.
Yeah, what can we say? Underperforming Lions squad, one must say that. But I think the yellow cards and everything cost them also.
And the red card.
Yeah. And Mr. Keita on his toes.
4 tries.
Brilliant. I think he's one of only 3 or 4 guys in the history of the Currie Cup that could score 4 tries in a match.
Interesting, very interesting. No, well done. Yeah, unfortunately, yellow card and red card, Iwe Viljoen cost the Lions dearly. I think they were just about to try and claw themselves back into the game, but not for them. So
yeah, we must say that score flatters the Lions.
In terms of expecting more of their play.
No, I mean, I wouldn't, if I only watched the game and didn't check the scoring, I wouldn't have given them 31 points. But yeah, that's the first surprise.
Yeah, second surprise, Cheetahs beating Western Province 38-21.
Yeah, again, I mean, the Cheetahs played 2 different games. They had 2 games this weekend. The first one, all passion, everything. The defence held up wonderfully. It was absolutely brilliant. And the Western Province just, lacking that final pass.
If I get it right, I think Western Province for more than 20 minutes attacking the Cheetahs quarter and the try line, but the defence just held up.
No, the defensive effort was brilliant.
And basically capitalising on Province mistakes.
Yeah.
And making use of all their scoring opportunities. Brilliant game for the Cheetahs. This was on Wednesday, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not so brilliant for the Cheetahs yesterday. When they
lost to the Sharks.
Yes.
Okay, but who was the outstanding player for you at the Cheetahs from Province?
Cheetahs, the first one on Wednesday, Pienaar.
Definitely Ruan Pienaar. I mean, he played out of his skin and he shows that he is. I mean, Ruan Pienaar is, except now he was sent off by.
He got a yellow card.
He got a yellow card, yeah. But yeah, he proved that he is the vital
cog
of Cheetahs. Brilliant game for Ruan Pienaar, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately against the Sharks, lost 47-30 against the Sharks. I think the Sharks just basically outplayed them in most aspects of the game.
That was now yesterday, no?
That was yesterday, yes.
Yeah.
So went from a great win to unfortunate loss for the Cheetahs.
And their discipline was also appalling.
Yes. I listened to the coach's remarks after the game. I think we can discuss it in another program, but the effect of the strain that's being placed on the Currie Cup team's double round, and then obviously having to gear themselves up for the United Rugby Championship starting in September. I know it's all the team's problem, it's not just...
Yeah, it's not only, but I mean, some were affected more than the others. The Sharks had 3 home games cancelled. But they got 4 points out of every game, but also the opponents got 4 points out of every game. But the Sharks at this stage at the top of the log.
But the 2 games a week basically now is starting to obviously
take its toll.
But you know what, it's the same for all the teams, and it's where the depth is going to be count, and player management, and of course team management. Then Bulls and the Lions. Just finished now, recently. Bulls beating the Lions convincingly 40-21.
Yeah, I would say it's not a bad Lions performance. I thought that the difference in score line is going to be 40-50 points. And I mean, the Bulls started very quickly, putting up 14 points, and then the Lions started getting into the game.
Yeah.
And again, then lost it at the last, 10-15 minutes.
Yes, but in general, the Bulls basically controlled the game. I mean, they didn't allow the Lions to get into the game or stamp their authority pretty much through good forward play, setting up the back line. good attacking runs from the back line, and then ultimately good defence also from the Bulls. But the Lions, give them credit, the few opportunities they had, they used to score. And I think, and then the Sharks and the Bulls match was unfortunately cancelled this week.
Yeah, and then we had this, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
If you can call it an afternoon on a Sunday, that's still morning on a Sunday.
Pumas and Province.
Province, yeah.
Yeah,
Province outplayed the Pumas. I mean, they took control basically from the start. Again, Evan Roos played a massive game. But with the Tui and a lot of other players also putting their hands up. But this time they struggled in the first half to take their dominance, convert their dominance into points. But in the second half, they basically ran away with the match.
Yeah. Also, yes, Evan Roos, young de Tooy, flank of brother of Peter Steff, mentioned by Province coaches that yes, they are performing themselves every weekend, but it cannot maintain itself. At some stage, he's going to have to rest them and bring in other players in terms of building and continuing.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Marcel Tennyson and there's quite a lot of other Lucies that can play, but if they will have the same effect as those two, because as soon as Evan Roos started taking them forward, then the things started happening for Western Province.
Yeah.
But let's discuss, I mean, the Currie Cup. Are you impressed with the Currie Cup? The quality of play?
Excuse me. I know it's high-scoring matches. I've picked up. If you look at the scores, unusually high. I know it's not your type of rugby.
Yeah, all of them above 60.
Pretty much. So yes, from an entertainment try-scoring point of view, it's entertaining, and compared to a very slow, low-scoring match. The differences in the teams week in, week out. Once again, playing up to 2 matches a week. It's interesting now to see how teams perform. For example, the Cheetahs now outperform themselves on the Wednesday and then diving on the Saturday. So
the Stormers played 3 games in I think 10 days. Of course, they played the British and Irish Lions on Saturday, no?
Yeah.
No, Friday.
Yeah.
No, when did they play?
Yeah.
But in any case, I mean, it's yeah.
So in terms of the Currie Cup competition, it's a different competition this year, obviously, not just because of the number of games, but also the COVID challenges. Players coming in and out. I mean, we had short notice player changes for the Lions. The Bulls, due to illness at the last minute. So it's an interesting competition for me, to give you the short answer.
But a lot of coaches, I think John Dobson and Cheetahs, Harvey's came out and said, listen, this is rubbish. I mean, Harvey's came out and said, listen, I don't worry about it. I'll look at the end before my last match and see why I am on the lock. And I mean, if the Currie Cup has lost its value to that extent, maybe they must take it back and start all over next weekend, because then it's the second round that starts.
Because John Dobson did say that at the end of the day, the unions are going to be measured in terms of their success in the United Rugby Championship. That's it. So, I get the feeling the Currie Cup is being used as the stepping stone, building platform, whatever you want to call it.
But you can't blame them, because there's absolutely, you cannot plan for the Currie Cup. It's
But at least it's rugby. It's game time. I'm enjoying it, to be honest. So,
Yeah, and then the Springboks against the British and Irish Lions.
Yes. Game of 2 halves. First half, obviously, Springboks going into halftime 12-3 in the lead. Second half, Lions came out, and I had a feeling that Gatlin was going to change the way of play.
But don't you think we shot ourselves in the foot with the arrogance of especially our coaches? We named the team 48 hours before it was supposed to. That gave the British and Irish Lions more than enough time to analyse and pick their side according to that. Because what did they do? They also picked their best back or forwards for the second half.
Yeah, and they nullified our bomb squad. And I mean, it was basically a stalemate in the scrums. There was no dominance in the scrums. We actually went from dominating in the first half scrum-wise to just scrumming in the second half. But they beat us at the kicking game in the second half.
Yeah, and they were clever. I mean, everybody spoke about the lack of length of Colby and our eighthman, Kirill.
Yeah.
And, no, not Kirill, what's his name? Kwacha. And I mean, everybody knew that. If I coach against them, I would have done the same thing. And then they had to use Pollard to go and cover for
Yeah. I mean, from the start of the second half, box kick onto Kwacha under pressure, ball lost. Next thing they're in our quarter. Next thing they score a try. Next thing they're back in the game.
Yeah.
And there, we always talk about the momentum shift in the game. That was the momentum shift for me. And then after that, you know, it was just a continuous battle.
Okay, but what will you change?
What will change? Firstly, let's not forget the stupid penalties that we gave away. I mean, I know.
But that's pressure.
Listen, I agree with you. There's pressure, but you know what? When you get yourself offside, that's not pressure. You know, if you are working illegally through a ruck and the referee is shouting at you to no, stop, and you continue doing it, then that's just stupid. That's not pressure. I can mention a few
so you think
other examples.
You think a few IQ tests for the Springboks?
You know, it's just frustrating. I agree, pressure obviously leads to penalties, but there were some penalties in yesterday's game that was totally unnecessary, that you do not expect from a senior squad. And you know what, that's how you keep the opposing team in the match. I mean, it's simple as that. Okay, so a combination of stupid penalties, in my opinion, outplayed in the kicking game, and then the referee of yesterday's game. I'm sorry.
But it went both ways, because on the media conference of the British and Irish Lions, they also were unhappy. It's like I sat there one day with Affis playing against Kes. I sat in the corner. This side, Kes old boys were sitting at the back of the game, of the field, and Affis on the one side of the field. And the referee made a decision, and both sides screamed at him.
Yeah. Well, Mario Toje, a meter off the try line, attacking ruck. I mean, it's clear for the world to see, because he's holding his hand on the ball for about 4 seconds, and then we get penalised for holding while he's resting with his knees on the opposing player. My question is, where's the referee and where's the assistant referee? Never mind the TMO that should be calling these.
Yeah, but the TMO was too scared to do anything.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but what will you change?
What will I change? I don't know. Do we change the eighth man?
Definitely, we have to. We can't play with. It's too short. And the problem I've got with that is nobody in the loose crew actually knew what to do, because he was a number 8, but he played the game of a number 6. Look, Kulisi was a 7, and he tried to play the game of a 6.
I don't know if length is. I mean, look, Dwayne usually is very solid as a number 8 under the box kicks.
But he must be about 1.5 meters taller than Kwacha.
Okay.
No, I mean,
all right,
you won't replace Dwayne.
No.
That we must accept. You won't replace Dwayne. But I'm sure there's better eighthman in South Africa.
Yeah. And then, yes.
I would replace Willie Leroux. He had absolutely no impact on the game. Yeah. He struggled on defence.
Yeah. Now I'll bring in Steyn off the bench as a fly-off. Instead of Jantjies.
Yeah, Jantjies
did what he had to do in the second half, but yeah.
And I would Cheslin Colby also. I would drop him. It's and we must understand, it's not an attack of the guy's abilities. It's not an attack on Kwacha's abilities. We've got a Springbok team that wants to play a certain pattern and game plan, and those two players simply doesn't fit in that game plan. Neither does Willie at the back.
It's a game plan that we need to counter the Lions in this.
It's a physical game plan. A lot of kicking.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, it's simple.
It's like watching the Wales match in the World Cup again.
Yeah, it's like Peter de Villiers. Everybody went mad about what Peter de Villiers said. The Springboks doesn't play the game plan to make use of Colby's talents, and it's true.
Yeah.
But you can't change the game plan for one guy.
Yeah. But the positive side is
Saturdays there's another one.
There's another one, and Jacques Nienaber said the errors can be fixed. They'll definitely do their homework on how to counter the Lions' kicking game plan. So unfortunately, we're not making it easy for ourselves this series. But yeah, next weekend is another test.
I just, from the coach's side, I just want to see them a bit more serious about the problem. It's easy to say we can fix it. I said that to my bank manager also on a frequent, but it doesn't work. You must, he must make vital decisions that's going to upset a lot of South Africans. But if he doesn't make that changes, nothing is going to be fixed.
Because I think Warren Gatland and the Lions currently have our number.
Yeah, they outplayed us completely. Next week is going to be even worse if we don't step up.
All right.
Right.
See.
Not a good weekend for Lions supporters, or Springbok supporters, or Western Province supporters. I think the only guys that could be happy is the Bulls. They only played one game. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
See you next week.